What's going on, guys? Bexio, and today we got a brand new video on Do Kwon and Terra Luna because he might have had a bigger role in the collapse of Terra Luna than people might have thought, and not because maybe he was stealing money or doing anything like that, but because he might have put a major target on Luna's back simply for how he acted on the internet and when he was challenging the internet and billionaires, two groups that you never challenge. One, the internet is undefeated. You're not going to beat the internet. You will not be the guy to beat the internet. It's just not going to happen. And then two, billionaires, why are you challenging people who have billions of dollars and thinking that they can't do anything? They very easily can. If they have billions of dollars and you want to attack them and go after them and they come after you, you got a problem on your hands. So two groups you really want to stay away from that Do Kwon had no problem not staying away from. And we can see that in some of his tweets and his responses to tweets, like this one right here, where we can see that in here, there's a response from someone talking about an attack on Terra that could happen, that could be a major problem for Terra. And instead of doing the normal thing that everyone would do, kind of looking at what he's saying, does it have any merit, going to the devs and saying, can this happen? If it can, how do we fix it? No, no, no. Not around here. We do not look at things that way. We attack the internet and attack these people and say, you are just dumb. And this was his response to the whole thing, basically saying, probably the most thread I've read this decade. Silence is a perfectly acceptable option if stupid. Billionaires in my following, go ahead, see what happens. So this is problem number one, where he challenges billionaires and kind of says, I dare you to try and attack Luna. See what happens. And it might have been this exact attack on Luna that is collapsing it and made it worthless, where he is out there putting a target on Luna's back and making things really, really bad, and just not something you really want to do. Challenging billionaires, why would you ever want to do that? We have this clip as well of him talking to Alex Botez. I don't know really how this came together, this like collaboration here, but they talk together, and what he says is pretty telling of, you know, just how he is as a person, and pretty funny looking at what actually happened to Luna in this aftermath and everything, and it's just crazy.
I wonder how many of these companies you think are entering the space just because it's hot and there's a lot of funding versus the ones that will still be here, like 2 to 5 years later.
Oh, 95% are gonna die.
Yeah.
95% are going to die. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, there's also entertainment in watching companies die too.
there's entertainment. Oh man, that's so evil. At least you get to learn from it, right?
So it could be pretty telling looking at that, seeing that he actually is saying it's entertaining to watch these companies collapse and laughing about it. And maybe Karma's coming out and taking down Luna. And I mean, he probably wasn't laughing at that one. But, you know, Alex tries to turn around and say, at least you get to learn from it. And we probably hopefully get to learn from something from Luna and UST and all of these things. Mostly algo stablecoins do not work. They've never worked, and they probably can't work. I mean, we've seen this grew to just such huge numbers, like $40 billion, and it still collapsed, no problem. So, but this is just Do Kwon not looking like the greatest person in the world, not looking like someone who actually could take care of a project or anything, more of someone who's just really, really arrogant. And that also shows in his tweets calling just everybody poor. Everyone who disagreed with him, what he just said was poor. He said everything, you know, if you didn't agree with him, you're poor. If you said something he didn't like, you were poor. If you went against Luna, you were poor. So it's not a good look for him. And it just seems like all of these things just adding up and making the collapse of Luna just kind of funny by looking at him, but not funny because of people that were involved in it. But if we just look at all this stuff here, just replying to everyone, talking about I don't liquidate the poor, you still poor, I don't gamble against the poor. Pretty sure he's poor. What I said was having fun staying poor. I guess that's similar. So a lot of calling people poor. I know it's just not a good look. If you're the head of this thing and you should be the spokesperson, if someone says something that could attack Luna, the first thing shouldn't be go on Twitter, call them poor. The first thing should be go to the dev team, go to everyone and say, can this actually happen? If it can, how do we fix it before it happens? But he didn't. And it looks like the things people warned him about, he just called them poor, is the downfall of Luna. And this is also interesting because he was someone who was accumulating Bitcoin, and it seems like he might have been accumulating Bitcoin to try and back Terra or UST for a lot of wrong reasons.
I think if we scale that to $10 billion, so the reason why I want to get to 10 billion is that besides Satoshi, we will be the largest single holder of Bitcoin in the world. Now, then in that case, like within the crypto industry, then the failure of UST is equivalent to the failure of crypto itself, right? Because if the largest single wallet like sells off all the Bitcoin, then that's an issue.
So you can see he wanted to be the biggest holder of Bitcoin, because if he had to start selling, then that would be a massive problem for Bitcoin, which it could be in the short term. And we've seen that in Bitcoin's price recently with 80,000 Bitcoin that they've gotten rid of, but it's only short term. It doesn't have long-term effect. It doesn't change Bitcoin. And to say, the failure of UST is the failure of crypto, you can't tie yourself to Bitcoin trying to say, if we fail, Bitcoin fails, and then crypto fails. It's just not how it works. You can still fail, get rid of all of your Bitcoin to try and save your project, ultimately still fail, and Bitcoin's still around, and it still grows. It's not going to stop Bitcoin from doing anything. And this is something that's a major important differentiating factor from everything that's not Bitcoin. And people don't, I don't know, a lot of people don't like hearing like Bitcoin is number one for a reason, and it's all these great things. But this is why it's number one, is that nobody is in charge. Not one person is the head of Bitcoin, the CEO of Bitcoin. You can't do anything and see one person at the head of it. It's an idea that people swarm around, and every single person can have a different idea of what Bitcoin can do for them, because there is no head saying this is what Bitcoin can do. With something like Terra, you have a head, and you can see all the problems that he created for Terra themselves by calling everybody poor, by going out and saying it's fun watching companies collapse and seeing things collapse, and just being a target for this project itself, where he puts a target on the project's back. And that's the difference between Bitcoin and everything else in the space, because everything else has founders, has people behind it, and even if they're anonymous founders, you can still just, in this day in the internet, I mean, people can probably find out who they are, but the anonymous ones end up being scams 99% of the time, and then the ones that have founders behind them still have the founders put a target on their back, like Do Kwon's done with Luna. And just one last thing to end the video off with, to kind of show how crazy people have gone and flipped on Luna. It just says the short story, and saying that his first Do Kwon's like thread, he had 14 tweets talking about Luna's gonna be great, it's gonna be so good, we're gonna come back, oh my god. And he's this guy replies saying, I'm changing all my Bitcoin for Luna because Luna's fallen 96%. It can only fall 4% max now. And that's not how percentages work. So in case you think like this, if something falls 99%, it doesn't mean it can only fall another 1%. It can fall another 99% from there, and you can lose everything. That's not how percentages work. It's not just have 1% risk to the downside. It can fall another 99%, and then after that, it can fall another 99%, and then another 99%. We saw that happen with Luna. So real time, we saw that happen in just a few days. And this guy's response to this was, very, very upset just a few hours later, even, because he tweeted at the tweet and it says a day ago, and then it's still a day ago, he's saying, this is the worst thing ever. So, and still 2 days later, after everything falling apart and going crazy, we have just radio silence out of Do Kwon. Nothing. May 10th, he said getting close, close to announcing a recovery plan. And I mean, if his recovery plan was everything going to zero and losing $40 billion and collapsing people's life savings, then I guess it worked. But radio silence, I doubt. I'd be interested to see if he tweets again and what he tweets. if he stays as arrogant as he was, now seeing how his project played out. But Luna, ultimately the founder, leader, creator, CEO, whatever he was, actually might have ended up being a pretty big factor in their downfall because he put a major target on Luna's back. It was probably just a matter of time before Luna and UST collapsed, like every single algorithmic stablecoin has ever done in history. But he might have put a major target on their back by calling everybody poor, daring the internet to do something to Luna, and then daring billionaires to do something with Luna. The two groups you never go after: the internet and billionaires. The internet is undefeated, and billionaires have lots of money to do what they want. So just kind of leave those groups alone. But he didn't, and we're seeing the outcome of that. But as always, that's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in my next video.